The Bible is not only a book of faith and worship, but also a historical source that documents the origins of Christianity, the ancient Middle East, and the lives of early church communities. Its content is structured as a blend of historical facts and theological interpretations. When examining the Bible from these perspectives, it is important to consider the following two fundamental aspects. As a historical document, the biblical texts, especially the four canonical Gospels Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, provide archaeologists and historians with first-hand information about the Roman Empire period, Jewish culture, and the geography of the 1st century AD. They contain valuable insights into the rulers of the time, e.g., Pontius Pilate, local kings, e.g., the Herodian dynasty, and the social life of the era. Its faith and theology-oriented, mysterious aspect, the Bible was not written with the purpose of providing a secular, objective, historical account in the modern sense. Its purpose is to convey the teachings of Jesus, his miracles, and the theological dimensions of his message. For this reason, some events described in the text are interpreted from a divine perspective. The primary reason it is often described as mysterious is that, alongside historical realities, it contains spiritual secrets and prophecies. Different approaches to this subject generally fall into two main categories: the historical critical approach. Historians and scholars compare the Bible with other historical and archaeological records of the period in order to verify the historical events, people, and locations mentioned within the text. The religious/dogmatic approach. For believers, the Bible is a spiritual guide centered not on historical details, but on divine revelation and the message of salvation, sacred history. We will explore the historical origins of the Bible and how they are supported by archaeological discoveries by examining the book's 5 great mysteries and their archaeological traces. Noah's Ark, anomalies on Mount Ararat and similar flood legends. Noah's Ark and the Great Flood are among the oldest and most widely shared legends in human history, appearing across numerous cultures. Mount Ararat and its surrounding region are considered one of the most well-known geographical centers associated with this ancient story. According to the legend, during the time of the prophet Noah, who believed in and remained faithful to the one true God, humanity had strayed from the righteous path, social order had broken down, and people had rebelled against God. God decided to punish them. He revealed to the prophet Noah a divine command to build an ark. The ark was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. As Noah built the ark, people mocked him and refused to believe that any disaster would befall them. Eventually, the construction of the ark was completed. Following God's command, Noah took aboard 1 male and 1 female of every living creature found upon the earth. He loaded sufficient provisions for the journey. Finally, he entered the ark together with his family and a number of faithful followers. One of his sons refused to board the ark, saying, "If a flood comes, I will take refuge on a mountain." At that moment, the heavens opened. Rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights, and an unprecedented flood united mountains and stones with the seas. The people who had incurred God's wrath perished, and only those aboard the ark survived. Noah's Ark drifted upon the waters for 150 days before coming to rest. Then, by divine command, the waters began to recede. The ark settled upon the peak of Cudi in the mountains of Ararat. The prophet Noah opened a window and released a dove. The dove returned because it could find no place to rest. 7 days later, he released the dove once again. This time, it returned to the ark carrying an olive branch in its beak. The waters had receded. Noah departed from the ark and established a village at the foothills of the mountains of Ararat. Humanity and all living creatures multiplied once again. Scholars have searched the mountains of Ararat for the remains of Noah's Ark for many years in an effort to verify this legend, which also appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh of the Sumerians and is known throughout the world. Search efforts, aerial photographs and satellite data have been examined for many years by scientists, geologists, and researchers. Geological explanation. Geologists and the broader scientific community generally maintain that these structures are natural rock formations, landslide features, or volcanic formations. There is currently no scientific consensus that any of the geological structures found in the region are the remains of Noah's Ark. The Ark of the Covenant, where did it go? Is it still hidden today? The Ark of the Covenant disappeared in 586 BC when King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon captured Jerusalem and destroyed Solomon's temple. To this day, there is no archaeologically verified location proving its existence. Its fate remains entirely shaped by historical losses and various theories. There are three main theories about where the Ark of the Covenant is located. The Ethiopian theory, most widespread. Many researchers and traditional sources believe that the Ark is kept in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in the city of Aksum, Ethiopia. According to legend, the Ark was brought there by the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The Jerusalem Temple Mount theory. Some historians and researchers suggest that the Ark was hidden in secret tunnels or caves beneath the Temple Mount shortly before the Babylonian invasion and may still remain concealed there today. The Mount Nebo theory. Certain apocryphal texts found in sacred literature, such as Maccabees, state that the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark in a cave on Mount Nebo by God's command and that it would remain undiscovered until the end times. In addition to searches conducted on Mount Nebo and in Rome, the Ark has also been sought in many other locations. The Knights Templar, European knights dedicated to the Church, were organized to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land during the Crusades. While stationed on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, stories emerged claiming that they had discovered treasures including both the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. When the knights were outlawed and executed in 1307, rumors regarding their survival and their hidden treasures multiplied over the centuries. One popular theory claims that their treasures were concealed in Rennes-le-Château in southern France. From there, according to another theory, they were moved to Scotland and eventually to the United States, based on the belief that the Templars later evolved into the Masonic order. Did Sodom and Gomorrah really perish due to a meteor or a volcanic eruption? Yes, scientific research suggests that the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the people of Lot, may have been caused by a meteor explosion. Geological and archaeological studies indicate that this catastrophe was not the result of a volcanic eruption or a direct asteroid impact, but rather an airburst, a meteor exploding in the atmosphere before reaching the ground. Details described in the Torah and the Quran, such as fire raining down from the sky, are explained by scientists as the effects of a meteor detonating in the atmosphere. The airburst meteor theory. Excavations conducted at the ancient city of Tal el-Hammam in the Jordan Valley, one of the primary sites believed to be Sodom, have revealed evidence that the city was suddenly destroyed by extremely high temperatures and pressure. Similar to the Tunguska event of 1908, a celestial object broke apart and exploded in the atmosphere before striking the Earth's surface, evidence of extreme heat and combustion. Archaeologists have discovered that pottery and metals within the city were melted, indicating that surface temperatures exceeded 2000 degrees Celsius. In addition, microscopic diamonds and iron silica spherules, materials known to form only during cosmic explosions of this magnitude, have been found throughout the area. Salt and sulfur. Researchers believe that the atmospheric explosion propelled the highly saline waters of the Dead Sea, Lake Lot, into the air, creating a layer of salt that rendered agricultural lands barren for centuries. It is also suggested that descriptions in religious texts referring to sulfur raining from the sky are consistent with the effects of such gas and meteor explosions. The possibility of a volcanic eruption. The biblical account describing sulfur and fire raining down from heaven has historically been associated with volcanic activity. However, the Dead Sea Basin is not a volcanic region. For this reason, geological traces found in the area are generally interpreted not as evidence of volcanic eruptions, but rather as the result of gas releases triggered by powerful seismic activity, hydrothermal explosions, or meteor-related events. It is believed that this sudden catastrophe along the Dead Sea fault line was passed down through generations and eventually inspired the legendary destruction narratives recorded in religious texts such as the Torah and the Quran. The parting of the Red Sea. Were the geographical and natural conditions of that time possible? Scientists explain the parting of the Red Sea, or shallow lakes, through a meteorological and oceanographic phenomenon known as wind setdown. According to the laws of physics, if certain perfect conditions come together, it is possible for waters to temporarily divide, allowing people to cross on foot. The leading scientific explanations for how this natural phenomenon could have occurred are as follows. The effect of wind. In the biblical account, a strong east wind is said to have blown throughout the event. Such a wind could push water in a single direction. Researchers from the University of Colorado and the National Center for Atmospheric Research, NCR, demonstrated through computer simulations that powerful winds blowing for several hours could force water away from a shallow delta region, creating a muddy yet passable land bridge in the middle. Tides and negative surge. Water recession researchers from the University of Leicester have shown that negative storm surges and Rossby waves can lower water levels enough to expose areas that could be crossed on foot. Underwater reefs in shallow waters. Russian mathematicians Naum Volzinger and Alexei Andrasov mathematically modeled that, in the presence of an underwater reef or ridge, a strong wind of approximately 74 km per hour could completely push the water aside, opening a corridor wide enough for passage. All of these simulations support the physical possibility that the waters could have parted and then rapidly returned to their original state when the wind suddenly ceased or changed direction, engulfing any pursuing army. Scientific simulations generally focus on locations such as the Gulf of Suez or ancient delta regions as the geographical settings where such an event may have occurred. The days of creation, the surprising similarities and contradictions between scientific evolution theory and the Bible's 7 days of creation, the relationship between the creation account in the Bible, Genesis, and modern scientific evolutionary theory has long been a subject of debate, containing both significant contradictions and surprising chronological similarities. When theologians and scientists interpret the word day, Hebrew, yom, in Genesis not as a literal 24-hour period but as a long age or epoch, some remarkable parallels emerge. Here are the most striking similarities and the fundamental contradictions between the two perspectives. Surprising similarities, chronological parallels. The sequence of creation described in the Bible broadly parallels the chronological order presented by modern science regarding the history of the universe and life, the beginning and light. On the first day, the Bible states that the universe was a dark void and that light was created. First, science confirms that the universe began with the Big Bang, an immense burst of light and energy. The earth and the sky. On the second day, the atmosphere, the firmament, and the waters are separated. Scientifically, the early earth formed its atmosphere and oceans through the condensation of dense gases and water vapor, dry land, and plants. On the third day, the waters recede, dry land appears, and vegetation begins to grow. In geological history, continents formed first, followed by the emergence of the earliest plant-like and photosynthetic life forms on land, sea creatures, and birds. On the fifth day, sea creatures and birds are created. According to evolutionary theory, life began in the oceans, where invertebrates and fish diversified, while birds later evolved from dinosaurs, land animals and humans. On the sixth day, land animals are created first, followed finally by humans. In evolutionary chronology, mammals and primates occupy the upper branches of the evolutionary tree, while modern humans, Homo sapiens, are among the most recent species to appear. Fundamental contradictions, discrepancies, when the text is interpreted literally or examined in light of detailed scientific evidence, several significant contradictions emerge. The timing of the sun and stars. According to the Bible, the sun, moon, and stars were created on the fourth day. However, plants had already been created on the third day. Scientifically, without the sun and stars, neither light, earth, nor photosynthesis in plants would be possible. The emergence of birds. The Bible places birds on the fifth day, before land animals. Evolutionary theory, however, demonstrates that birds evolved much later from terrestrial reptiles, specifically theropod dinosaurs. The timescale. According to creationists who interpret the text literally, the world was created in 6 days, 144 hours. Scientific evidence, however, indicates that the universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old and that Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. The difference in mechanism. Evolutionary theory argues that life developed from a common ancestor through random mutations and natural selection over billions of years. The Bible, by contrast, states that living creatures were directly created according to their kinds through the word and will of God. Thousands of years have passed, yet these mysteries continue to challenge historians, archaeologists, and believers alike. Was Noah's Ark real? Does the Ark of the Covenant still exist somewhere in the world? Were Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed by a cosmic catastrophe? Could the Red Sea have parted through a rare natural phenomenon? And do the 7 days of creation reflect a deeper truth about the history of our universe? Some questions may never be fully answered, but perhaps that is exactly why these mysteries continue to fascinate humanity. Which one do you believe is real? Let us know in the comments below.